With volume profile, first thing you want to do is start on the hourly chart. With the hourly chart, you then pull your volume profile from a low or a high that kind of starts a big move like this. So what this does is it gives you, because it's lower than the current price, you get all this data for the low, and it also has a high that's higher than the current price. So that gives you upside levels. You always need both levels if you're gonna, accurately chart, because otherwise, without data from up here, you have no idea where you're gonna go. So knowing that, next thing you want to look at is anchored VWAP, point of control. Point of control is the most amount of shares traded at this entire volume profile. Most shares are traded right here at this 5905, 5906 level. So this is going to be your biggest point of resistance, point of support, depending on where you're at. Right now, it would be resistance. After looking at those, you want to map those out, just so in the future, you know that you have this level, and then, you know what, I'm not going to map out anchor VWAP. So now you want to look at the actual volume blocks themselves. So this here is actually one giant block. So you have this whole thing all the way out to here. This is one block, and then this would be another block. And that's because we have this little gap right here that starts the next set of high volume blocks. So we're just going to focus on this one because this is where price is trading at. Once you focus on one specific block, you have the individual ones. So now these individual ones, you need to start mapping these out and looking at them carefully. So because you have these three, this is going to be just kind of think of this as almost one. So you've got, why is that not working? Think of this as kind of one volume block here because it's these three all in a row and there's no weird gaps. It's just slightly descending. Under this, you have this block. So now I'm going to consider this as a separate one because we have a weird gap right here. So this is where we can be range bound before entering this one. So price doesn't like to enter new blocks and it doesn't like to exit the blocks that it's currently in. So once we get in here, it's going to be tougher for it to exit than it will be to just trade sideways. So knowing this, I'm going to assume that we chop a little bit. There's no bullish or bearish bias because we're in the middle of these two blocks. So what you can do is now look at, okay, have my levels been respected before? And yes, they have. So you can see price traded beneath here, bounced perfectly off of this volume block. And that produced a move back up here. With this being my high, you can see price tried to exit, fell right back down, and then it confirmed support at the bottom of this volume block. And that was before it moved up higher here, which it couldn't, which actually was this volume block right there, perfect. You can see it couldn't sustain that, so it fell back down. As it fell back down, fell into this volume block, and right here, you can see it had reaction at the bottom of this, and then as it broke beneath, it retested that, and then because of news, obviously price is going erratically, but right now, we're looking at this volume block. This is the next one. This is the most important one. It's the anchored view or the point of control. And we're getting some wicks off of this, confirming that it is going to be a point of resistance. So if we break into this, now you can long. So once we get in this level, you would want to wait until we're, fully in it and we have some hourly candle closes inside of it. You don't want wicks. So candle body closes inside of it means it's been fully adopted. You can start longing and you can use the exit of this as a stop loss. Preferably, you would start above 5907, which is above the point of control. That will give you the biggest level of support. So once we start closing candles above this, you can have a pretty confident long, like maybe you're a fuller position. And then as we break above that, this volume block will then move up here. This would be your next kind of profit zone. And then up here would be your final take profit. So what that would do is basically give you something that looks kind of like this here. So this would be, start longing here, take profit up here, stop loss a little bit beneath there, because again, you need a candle close beneath this level to confirm it. Wicks don't matter. So that would be how you long with the volume profile on the hourly chart. You can swap over, again, hourly is good for the day, it's good for the week. You don't need more than that. 5 and 15 minute is good for the day, and then like a daily chart is good for, for weeks moving forward. So with this one, again, pull from this low, which gives us data for these lows, gives us data for these highs, kind of an inflection zone. You can see that low produced this movement, this high produced this low. So it's good to encompass all of that. We have this standalone volume block, which is going to be just some sideways action. And that's kind of what's going on right here. You can see it bounce off the anchored VWAP, moved back into this volume block, and we're just kind of trading sideways. So as we break above that, which is 5,900, which lines up with the hourly chart, then you can expect to trade up to this 6012 area. These levels are changing every day. So as more information comes out, more data comes out for the candles, these levels are changing. So it used to be 6017, now it's 6012. That would be the level that I'm looking for before kind of a substantial resistance. And that's just because you can see these are pretty normal size. And then we hit this one. This one's pretty big, and that is also attached to the point of control. This is going to be a big level of resistance. If we were to break out of that, we go all-time highs almost certainly. And then before we do, I would expect some kind of sell-off, maybe back down into this range, maybe back down to the anchored VWAP. We'll see. But yeah, look for these standalone bars. If we were to break beneath all of this, this would be the next volume block. So now you start looking at levels down here because we have this weird gap. Look at these levels down here. And then as we do that, you need to start pulling from back here to get lower levels. So as we pull from back here, you can see everything updates. Now all of a sudden this 4230, this level is pretty important. You can see this value area low, 513 area, that's important. So there's always key levels throughout every point in history. It's just up to you figuring out what ones are the ones that are most relevant to your trading and what you're doing. So yeah, for me right now, it's kind of right in this zone. Gives me a point of control high, so like higher than the price I'm at. That way I can look at that and understand this is going to be kind of a magnet price. And I think this 6012 level, like I said, is going to be really key in the future. 6014, 6012, whatever it is, somewhere in that zone is going to be key. This is going to be key. I could expect maybe a weekly wick up to this and weekly close beneath this level. Maybe a couple daily closes above here, but nothing above that. So it's just all about finding the right levels and knowing where to pull from. As we start to, if we were to short and fall down, you can also pull from here because you don't need all this. You don't need all the data up high, but we do have all this recent data from these lows. So you can see these are going to be key levels right here. Key level, anchored VWAP, key level, key level. Those would be your targets if you're shorting, which would be valid under right here, 5795. So you can short under that level and expect to hit these targets. So just play around with it. It's really fun to see prices react to it as you're charting. It's really fun to do it and look at the 1 minute and see what 1 minute price action does. But super reliable and really easy once you get the hang of it. So highly recommend trying it out. It's for me, it's just been the most reliable thing.